A rising tide raises all ships. AI will desecrate creativity in AAA studios, Hollywood, other entertainment venues who are all obsessed with DEI products that all end up being diverse in the exact same way. This is an opportunity. AA indie games, indie comics, indie movies all have more and more potential to break in. But we need to consider what makes them successful, and indie comics is a great example of what not to do. In indie comics, on Kickstarters, Patreon, or whatever else, there are some very successful projects. And every time we see competitors and activists try and taint and tear down the success. This sort of foolishness is the biggest hurdle for the indies to surpass the AAA. This makes you individually look petty and hard to deal with. It taints everyone's image of you and your work. And if you are failing to have successes while you are lashing out at others, that's why. Because you're making yourself impossible to like. You don't share your audience. If their product fails, yours is not going to succeed in turn. It's actually the opposite. The more people are willing to go to the indie well, the more the entire indie audience grows. And the more it grows, the more chances there are that someone who has an interest in something else will also like what you make. Anime is a good example of this, because anime has flourished for so long without much interference. There's not just the really popular shonen stuff, there's effectively every single genre you can think of, often with several different successful manga, and in some cases a few anime. This did not happen by mangaka going public to try and demean their competition. We did not have Oda calling Toriyama a misogynist because all of the lolis in Dragon Ball, or for not having Goku and Vegeta launching gay monkey Big Bang attacks up each other's colons. There's overwhelming classiness and professionalism. But that's what we get in the Western indie scene, and the Western AAA scene. So if indies are just going to mimic the obnoxious behavior of the AAA, why even go indie at all? Trust and authenticity has been demolished by AAA game studios and big Hollywood studios. Think about how excited people were for Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, for the Star Wars prequels, and then sequels. Into the 2000s and 2010s, people are going wild for every IP getting rebooted. With new technology advances, the MCU completely changed how people looked at live-action comic book heroes, and Game of Thrones turned typically niche, nerdy dark fantasy into a general audience activity. Trust is important. Trust was built by how all these things were started. The original creators made something beautiful. Then we believed the adaptation creators had passion, the actors would be interesting, and the stories would respect the foundation they were building on. Now we have Rings of Power, The Last Jedi, the current phase of the MCU, the reboot of Willow. Nearly every big IP has been bought by disinterested corporations full of systemic wokeism, and handed to people who hate the IP and fanbase so they can create fetish fan fictions. And all of them have lost their luster. This is happening in gaming too. The Arkham series is one of the most beloved sets of games ever made, letting players feel the fantasy of being Batman like nothing else. And it ended with Kill the Justice League, a woke disaster that everyone hates. If you are an indie dev, indie filmmaker, indie comic artist, or whatever else, the Western annihilation of the entertainment industry is a boon, an opportunity. If you are passionate, genuine in your love of what you do, and willing to build trust by making art with consistent internal rules or lore, you have a chance to undermine the giants, and we can all topple the giants together. But there are so many bad actors seeking to ruin this rare chance. Think about how so many Kickstarter game scams devastated trust in trying to fund game. Even though many of those scams were NFT or MMORPG related, it has affected everyone. It's so much harder to start a Kickstarter unless there's a lot of completed stuff already to show off. Most people won't eagerly support an idea like they would a decade ago. Or how about the YouTube adpocalypse? This was due to a few very bad actors. Yet if you were following the rules back then, or if you're a creator looking to start now, it doesn't matter if your content is nothing like it still damages you. Think about how far you can go with just being a little bit pleasant, or at least minding your own business when you try to make your business. Sydney Sweeney is one of the few new actresses that has a positive influence with fans, and that came after a movie that fans hated, Madam Web. Why? All she had to do was realize the project was bad, and have a good sense of humor about people making fun of it. She even poked it herself. Consider how different that is from all the other TV series and movies, where as soon as it does poorly, and as soon as the fans reject it, the first action of the actors or actresses is to start calling all of the audience toxic, racist, sexist, or something else like that. Henry Cavill and Jenna Ortega are also similarly liked, for defending fans and for advocating for the projects they were involved in to do better and be closer to the lore. In both cases, they win against the people in power to be authentic to their characters. The fan base appreciated this, and however you feel about their projects, it's undeniable they are the best parts of them. AAA and Hollywood have kicked, abused, and insulted the fans for so long. If you can show authentic appreciation for these people, as well as solid indie art, you will find an opportunity that is unlike any other. This is your time to shine. Do not tarnish it with infighting and attempts to drag down everyone else. A rising tide raises all ships. Indies have a huge chance, unlike any in history, to propel themselves to the spotlight without needing the backing of a wealthy corporation or gate-kept industries. But if woke Karens continue to embrace the crabs in the bucket mentality, since they would rather see everyone fail than someone they hate succeed, instead of seizing the means of your own production, you will see the corporate entertainment regime continue to remain the status quo. Then again, since the only way the woke can ever succeed is when fully backed by a major corporation, it is no wonder they have such vitriol for anyone who dares to rock the boat, and anyone who doesn't follow the mainstream corporate channels of artistic creativity.